Welcome to the May 10th meeting of the Sacramento Transportation Authority. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll and establish a quorum?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Directors Campion, Carr, Fox, here. Frost, here. Gatewood, here. Guerra, here. Hanson, Howell, Hume, here. Kennedy, here. Natoli, here. Peters, here. Chenier, here. Cerna, here. Sewin, here. And Chair Harris.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. Director Hume, would you lead us in the pledge?
I'd be happy to, thank you. Please address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mom, can I? See if we can get the other one that makes the that's left.
It makes a lot more sense.
So, okay, I have a few speaker slips, but nothing for public comments regarding matters not on the agenda. Is there anybody here who wanted to speak off the agenda? Don't see anything. So we can go on to comment item number 2, and that would be Mr. Hom.
Good afternoon. At the April board meeting, I indicated that I had hoped to come back to you today with good news regarding the local partnership program, which we also call the LPP. I'm very pleased to announce that Sacramento County fared very well in the CTC staff recommendations. The SCA's top 2 priority projects, the Southeast Capital Connector and the Downtown Grid 3.0 projects, were both recommended for funding in their full requested amounts, which is $25 million total. The award is more than double what we would have expected if they had done this on a population basis. So that's very good news. The county's Hazel Avenue Improvement Project, Phase 3, that fared very well in terms of the CTC staff's rankings, but unfortunately did not make the cut. But I do think that it would be a very good candidate for the next round of funding because the CTC had looked upon that project and rated it very highly as well. CTC staff also released their recommendations for another SB1 program called the Solutions for Congested Corridors project. And in the Congested Corridors program, we also did very well. CTC staff has recommended full funding for the HOV lanes project on I-5 and also on the HOV lanes on US 50 in the full amount of $125 million. And so that is $15 million for I-5 and $110 million for US 50. However, before we can begin celebrating here, there's a lot of work that is still being done behind the scenes because there is a lot that can happen between now and the May 16th CTC meeting when the CTC Commission itself will actually take action. And so those efforts are going on, but the bottom line here is that we need to keep our fingers crossed and hope that the staff recommendations do get adopted by CTC. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the directors? Mr. Gatewood.
How did the White Rock Road Rancho and all that area fare, and how would we adjust it so if the funding's still there?
So for the White Rock project, it was rated, I believe it was rated medium-low. I think they're, depending on whatever projects it'll be competing against on the next round, it might fare a little bit better, but these are all relative at this point.
Okay, so they didn't give you any, like,
no,
tell you like a scale or like we did? Nothing? Okay.
No, there was nothing specific, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
So on the congested corridors, it sounds like you're intimating there'd be pretty stiff competition going towards May 16th. Is there anything we can do in terms of letter? I know we've drafted a letter from myself acting as chair, right. Trying to promote our project. Anything else that you can think of? There's
a number of different things that's happening between SACOG and city staff and some of our assembly members' offices that are sending out letters of support and making phone calls. So all of that is happening. And I've also reached out to Member Hanson's office, who is coordinating support for the local partnership program. We think that program is safe. because it's a relatively small program, but I prefer not to take any chances and cover all of our bases. And so we do have a lot of support efforts going out, reaching out to the commission members, and there will be quite a few, there will be a contingent coming from Sacramento down to San Diego for the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So a little advocacy might go a long way.
Definitely.
Very good. Madam Clerk, next item.
Your next item are your consent matters. You have your items, matters 3 through 8 are in order.
Any comments from directors? Anybody need to pull anything for discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for consent.
I'll move it. Second.
Okay, moved by Director Howell and second by Director Hume. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Consent carries. Next item, please.
Your next item is a presentation, Transportation Priorities Listening Sessions.
Today we have Noah Painter and Sarah Modeste from KMP Strategies. They're here today to give us a presentation, which is basically the first look at the listening tour that they will be conducting with your help in your local communities throughout Sacramento County.
Well, welcome, Sarah and Noah. I think we all know you. So we'll look forward to what you have to say.
Great, thanks. We also have Sabrina Bradbury here from SACOG. They're the contract holder in this particular effort. So we're KMP Strategies. We're a public outreach and education firm based in Sacramento. And like I said, we've been retained to design and facilitate this listening tour throughout Sacramento County to identify transportation priorities. It's just getting started. We've had a kickoff meeting with the planning group, and we're developing a database right now, and we'll be developing a survey tool so that we can qualitatively gather data and synthesize that into a final report. And Chairman, with your approval, we'd love to come back at that time and give you an update on our findings. I think it's useful throughout the county to really hear what people say and how they say it and what their priorities are, which is what our charge is on this particular effort. Council members Chenier and Supervisor Kennedy are the co-chairs of this particular effort. We're working closely with them, and I know that they'll be reaching out to you, their partners and local agencies, to brief you before we go into your communities. We don't want anyone surprised, but we do want to be inclusive, so we'll be working with our co-chairs on that particular effort. And like I said, we want this to be an inclusive experience. And so if you have groups or individuals that you think would be valuable for us to meet with or talk to throughout this process, we'd certainly like to hear from you. Norm has our contact info, and I'm sure he'd be happy to collect that, or you obviously can connect it with us directly as well. So we appreciate the opportunity to give you kind of a little overview today. Happy to answer any questions, and then again return back to you with some findings towards the end of the year, beginning of next year.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. And first question comes from Director Chenier.
Thank you, Chair. Just really briefly, first of all, thanks for coming. I think it's important for people to know that we are kicking this off. This largely comes from a good campaign, but a very short campaign that was run last time, which did not really adequately take into consideration what folks think about around the county. And so the piece here is really going out and not having any kind of predetermined plan of what we need, but really listening to people throughout the county. Our hope is that we will do this listening campaign within all of the jurisdictions that sit at this table, that we can count on you all to help us kind of as a local host. So if we want to go to Folsom, or if we want to go to Elk Grove, or however, Citrus Heights, that we can get those folks who are sitting on this dais, plus some of your colleagues and maybe nonprofits in your area as well, to actually host a meeting that they'll help facilitate and take notes on. I think this is the right thing to do. The funding for this contract is being split between 50-50 between the city and the county. And we want to also thank SACOG for agreeing to kind of be a neutral partner in this and help facilitate this. A lot of the learning that Supervisor Patrick Kennedy and I had when we went to Seattle to listen to other cities and how they've been successful, we're trying to use those good lessons learned from Seattle, Los Angeles, and some other localities in this. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much, Director Chenier. Next, Director Kennedy.
Actually, Director Chenier covered it.
Okay, Director Sue.
Can I add one thing? I'm sorry. We also have had some discussion about a community outreach and public education campaign from this organization, and I know Norm has put together some potential funding on that, and I don't know if it's appropriate now or at the end under comments, but we'd love to see that come back very soon for an RFP. I think that there's a number of things that will go on that are aligned with one another and that are at the same time. So this is really about hearing what folks say, but also I think this organization getting good information out into our communities about what's been accomplished with Measure A and other things like that. And there are campaigns going on, for example, in the city, but this is a much larger jurisdiction than that. So my hope, and Mr. Chair, if you could take this under consideration, my hope is that we can get an RFP from funds that Norm has authorized, that we can, or that Norm has identified, that we can get an RFP out as soon as possible and get going on that as well. I think we need, the biggest lesson learned from last time around was time, and we don't want to get pushed, so the earlier we start, the better off we'll be in working with our communities.
Okay, very good. Director Sue.
Thank you, Chair. Look forward to working with you both on this. We might have some work that we've done recently, similar work that I think you can leverage, as well as some local nonprofits and volunteers in the community. So please reach out to us when you get a chance.
Great,
Thanks.
will do. Thank you.
We like leveraging.
Okay, well, thanks so much for your
For your
presentation.
time. Appreciate it.
All good. Next item, please.
Your next item is a replacement of Series 2015A Standby Bonds Purchase Agreement and release of Series 2009C Bond Reserves.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Today we are asking you to approve 2 resolutions related to 2 bond program transactions. We are recommending that Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation replace Mizuho Bank as the liquidity provider for the Series 2015A bonds, and we're asking that you authorize the release of $7.1 million in debt service reserve funds for the Series 2009C bonds. Over the last year or so, we have been actively monitoring the municipal bond market to identify opportunities to reduce costs and improve the structure of our bond portfolio. The new liquidity facility, which was locked in at a very good rate for 5 years, is the current market's response to our highly rated bonds. In addition, since investors no longer require a debt service reserve fund for the Series 2009C bonds, we believe this is a good time to release those funds for projects in the coming year. We want you to be fully informed before approving our recommendations. Therefore, I've asked representatives from PFM Financial Advisors and Ora Carrington to provide short presentations to you and respond to any questions you may have. At this time, I've asked Bob Gamble, Managing Director with PFM Financial Advisors, to address us, and then he will be followed by our Bond Legal Counsel, Jenna McGann, partner with Ora Carrington.
Thanks very much. If we can bring the presentation up. Next slide.
You know how to advance it.
Is it here?
That's further to the east, Bruceville area.
There we go. So first of all, a quick overview of the current debt portfolio. There are a total of $364 million of bonds outstanding, of which 318 are variable rate and therefore require some form of credit support. Variable rate demand bonds are supported by standby bond purchase agreements, or SBPAs. Today we're going to be addressing 2 series of bonds, the 2009C bonds, which are approximately $106 million, and the 2015A bonds, which are approximately $106 million. So as Tim summarized for you, the first action we're undertaking is to replace Mizuho Bank, which is exiting this market, with Sumitomo Bank, and they are instead providing a standby letter of credit. It's really the same, serves the same function for the bonds, it just has a slightly different name. So that's for the 2015 bonds. The agreement that has been struck is a 5-year agreement at 0.38%. We believe that is a very competitive rate. The authority also has the ability to exit the agreement after 2 years at no additional cost. And again, the standby letter of credit serves the same function as the previous agreement. For the 2009 C bonds, we have also negotiated a release of $7.1 million in funds that were previously reserved. That will allow those to be reused for projects. This agreement will also be undertaken at 0.38% and will extend the U.S. Bank agreement for an additional 1.5 years. Part of the reason for the release of the reserve is that simply that the market no longer requires that. So that turns out to be a good deal. Just a summary of recent steps that have been undertaken over the past 90 days, working with the team here at STA. The replacement liquidity facility has been negotiated with Sumitomo, working with the Orrick law firm. We have drafted extension documents with the U.S. Bank. As we noted before, the bond covenant was renegotiated to release the reserve, which is no longer needed. The disclosure documents, the official statements, have been updated for the bonds. Bondholders have been noticed, and we've received confirmations of the ratings, which, as Tim noticed, are very good ratings. So with that, we're going to turn to a summary of the documents. Rather than walk through this myself, I'm going to turn over the floor to Jenna McGann of the Orrick Law Firm to walk through those. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you very much. I wanted to mention that Orrick is the special counsel to STA, specializing in the bond matters. So we have drafted 2 resolutions for your consideration today that approve the transactions that are before you. The first relates to the substitution of the liquidity facility with Mizuho being substituted out for Sumitomo. So the resolution related to that transaction approves the form of the bank document between STA and Sumitomo. And it also authorizes a form of disclosure document that goes out to the holders of these 2015 A bonds and tells them that now they should be looking at Sumitomo's credit with respect to the liquidity instead of Mizuho's. Secondly, we have a second resolution related to the 2009 C bonds. And that resolution approves amending the existing bond document to release the reserve for project purposes. And the resolution also approves an amendment to the disclosure document that goes out to the holders of the 2009 C bonds and tells them that their bonds are no longer secured by a bond reserve because that amount is going to be released. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
We do have some comments from directors. First up is Director Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if you'd be the appropriate one because it was on one of the slides that you presented, but on the Sumitomo standby letter of credit, it says it's a 0.38% annual fee. Is that 0.38% of $106 million? Are they being paid $400,000 a year just to have a letter of credit?
Let me just confirm that. That's correct, yes.
Does that seem appropriate?
It is the market rate. I mean, we believe that is actually a very competitive rate.
And it was subject to competitive bidding.
We went through a competitive bidding process to get to that level.
Wow, that's a lot of money to be paid just to stand by in case it's needed.
Well, yes.
I mean, I guess having $106 million at your fingertips is probably a pretty good position to be in.
That's what I was going to say. It is a lot of money that's at stake, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Director Frost.
I have a question regarding the reserve requirements. You made the comment that the market no longer requires the reserves, and my question is it because of our good credit rating that we're not required to have these reserves? And if for some reason our credit rating were to decline just a little bit, could it, or if the rates went up, or, you know, is it possible that we could then be asked to present reserves?
Sure. It's a little bit of all of those factors, actually. I would say that since the time that the bonds have been issued, there has generally been a market trend toward less of a need for reserve funds, especially fully funded reserve funds. So there's been a general market trend to be, I would say, more permissive in terms of not having reserve funds. At the same time, I do think that the high quality of the credit matters. And there is some point at which, if you had continued degradation of the credit, that you would need to have a reserve. I don't think you're close to that at all at this point. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so in a worst case scenario situation, if we were to be asked to then renew our reserves and we didn't have the money, would we be able to refinance out of an existing bond and include the cost of the reserves in another bond, so that would we have a plan B?
Yeah, as a practical matter, that is what would happen, is that the bonds would be restructured in some way to accommodate a new reserve. And you could either stay in a variable rate mode or you could go to a fixed rate mode, for example.
And with the current economic forecast that rates are going up, it looks like most of these are variable, so you feel we're still better off to have variable with standby purchase agreements?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think
versus fixed.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that you have historically you have done very well with variable rate bonds because you've stayed on the low end of the yield curve. I think it's a valid question as to when is the right time to think about fixing out more of the bonds long run, and that's probably a long-term strategic question that should be considered in the coming years.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Director Howell.
Actually, my question was pretty much exactly what Sue just asked, so I'm good.
So I guess the answer to that is looking at it long-term to develop a strategy. So at some point, I assume you'll come back with a recommendation or perhaps just an information item about that very subject. I think it would ease some concerns. I know in the general public, there's always concerns about sticking with variable rate. You know, it feels risky, but it is a pretty long-term strategy for STA. So perhaps you can come back with an information item about why that's a good strategy for this body.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, thanks very much. Sure. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, please.
They need a motion, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do need an action. So, Director Chenier is moving the staff recommendation.
Second.
And the second from Director Soon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It carries. Now we're on to the next item.
Mr. Chair, just on that item, if I could.
Yes.
So the release of the monies, when it comes in, is it included in your budget calculations and you're going to be presenting to us, Norm? So that will be factored in, the 7.1 million will be factored into.
That's it.
Yep, go ahead.
It's in the budget documents that you have here
So
today.
it's built into what we're going to see later today?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I've been counting on the release of the reserves for at least a year now.
Yeah, I know you mentioned in previous. I just want to be sure. Okay, thanks.
Okay, actually, Madam Clerk, I just wanted to make a comment. It went by without a whisper on consent, but I want to personally thank Robert Holderness for stepping up to be an alternate on the ITAC and fill in when we have an absent individual on the committee. So, Bob, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. We enjoy your expertise on the ITAC, and you bring a lot to the table. Okay, next item.
Your next item is the Neighborhood Shuttle Program and Pilot Projects.
Last month, your board received presentations on 12 projects nominated for funding to kick off our neighborhood shuttle program. At that time, your board provided comments to Sacramento Regional Transit regarding specific shuttle routes. And in a moment, I'm going to ask Laura Ham of RT to come up and not only talk about to review the microtransit projects that were discussed, but also to highlight some of the changes that were made to some of the projects between that last meeting and today. But before we do that, I would like to call several items to your attention. The first of those is a letter on your dais. That is a letter of support from Related California. The second item is a letter from the County of Sacramento's Office of Planning and Environmental Review. So that's the second item on your dais. That particular letter discusses the county's recently adopted general plan element for environmental justice. And what the letter is asking is that in approving the neighborhood shuttle projects, that we consider where those environmental justice communities are located and prioritize projects based on that. I did have discussions with county staff this morning to make sure that I was understanding this correctly. But because, so what the priorities look like is that if we had to choose from among county projects, that they're asking us to give priority to the projects located within environmental justice communities. However, later on I'll discuss this, is that my recommendation is that we fund all 10 projects. And so that becomes a moot point. So I think we're good on that. And I did check with county staff just to make sure that my understanding was correct on that. Any questions on that? Oh, by the way, so I did want to present the third item that's on your dais is a graphic that I had put together to show where the neighborhood shuttle service areas are in relation to the environmental justice communities. And that's the one with the big swaths of yellow area. I will point out that that is not an RT graphic. That is something that I put together this morning. The boundaries might not be exact, but I just wanted to be able to show generally where the neighborhood shuttle service areas are in relation to the EJ communities. So you can see that there are three areas that are impacted. That would be right there in the middle, and then up north in North Highlands, and then in the South Sacramento area. And but as it turns out, each of those, two of those three areas are slated to be implemented among the very first in terms of the neighborhood shuttle program. So.
Thank you, Norm. Thanks for that clarification. Before we go farther, we do have some comments from people in the audience, and actually Director Fox asked if he could introduce them, and so Director Fox, take it away.
I'm showing up on a different mic here for if anybody's looking, but I would like to take the opportunity to introduce two folks from Citrus Heights. Peter, who will be one of our speakers, was one of those who came to our mayor, Steve Miller, and said, we need to think about something for a little better transportation in Citrus Heights for folks that are mobility challenged, that need the ability to get around, something to cover that last mile, first mile project process. And that kind of kicked off our part of the Smart RT thought process and everything, and I was handed that baton when I first came on the commission. Peter will speak to that because I've spoke about him before. The day we kicked off this service in Citrus Heights, I've told all of you in one of the meetings that there was a young man who needed to get to the kickoff, and what he did was he went on the service the minute it opened up, got a reservation, was picked up at home, was brought to the grand opening of the Smart RT service in Citrus Heights and arrived just in time for the program. And it was really a poignant message of how important this program is. And it has grown exponentially. Alfred, who may speak and has also introduced himself, is very active in our community. He is also a very strong supporter of this program, and as it has grown and as the folks that they deal with and talk with all the time, it has grown so much faster than we ever anticipated. And the benefits of the program are absolutely astounding. And so I will let them fill out the information. They can formally introduce themselves. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Well, that's a great story of success, and I think we're all pretty encouraged by microtransit and what it might mean to the region. So we do have three speakers. Joanne Fuller will come up in position number 3. I didn't want you to think that I had forgotten about you, but let's start with Peter.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this service has been life-changing for a lot of people. Alfred's one of them. It's just there's been a real lack of same-day alternatives for people that have power wheelchairs, and that's extremely limiting for people socially. There's just it's a service like this is really sorry, I have to collect my thoughts here. 1 second. Well, it's integration. You know, that's the main thing, is being integrated into the same services that everyone else uses. Instead of having to use paratransit, which is a separate service, it's really great to be able to take the same transportation services everyone else does. I have access to light rail now, which I never had. You know, same-day access to light rail. It's very important, and it's just socially, it just helps a lot. I mean, it's a life changer. I didn't really have much prepared. I just kind of, you know, I just had my opinion here, you know, just how it's affected me. But sorry I didn't prepare anything, but yeah. That's all really to say. I think Alfred.
You said it all.
Peter, thanks
Sorry,
a lot.
yeah.
It means a lot that you took the time to come down here.
Thank you, yeah.
And access is very important. You know, access for people with mobility issues, or, you know, whatever their struggle might be.
Yeah.
To hear a story of success is a big thing for our board, I believe.
Yeah, it's terrific, and it's an alternative to Uber as well for a lot of people that can't afford it. It's not just people who use paratransit. It's just people who just needed a same-day alternative to Uber and Lyft. So it's really helped a lot of people. There's just nothing else like it.
Thank you so much. Alfred?
Chairman, members of the board, thank you for having me. I actually know a couple of you up there, so. I was a little bit more nervous when you're actually behind the speaker. Huh? You see other people do it, it looks so natural.
And you're on television too, so.
We're not that scary, really.
Gail will kick me if I get off track, but she's too far away. First of all, the incredible amount of freedom this provides is just enough in its own to make you want to keep this program and expand it. It's like freedom. Just, for example, paratransit. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. Probably all of you. But, you know, you have to know in a day in advance what you're going to do the next day. And with the smart ride system, you don't. I mean, I can decide I'm going to the movies, and I don't have to take one of my friends and buy them lunch and see if they can put my wheelchair in their car. And it's just freedom. I mean, that's like one of the things that we live for here in America is freedom, just the ability to just get down the street. I mean, I can't push my wheelchair to the bus stop and then take the bus somewhere. It's just, so a lot of times, you know, people like me or people that are maybe a little bit overweight or elderly, they get stuck, and that's no way to live. Even some of our bus stops themselves, I mean, there's people that ain't gonna catch the bus just because they don't like the people that are at the bus stop. So the incredible amount of freedom that this gives us is just in itself alone enough to keep this program going and expand it. I'm also claustrophobic, so I have to be outside a lot. And like I said, I don't have nobody that can come pick me up. But hey, you know, I get stuck in the rain. I call the smart bus. Hey, I have a ride, and then that's a beautiful thing. The buses are not that close to people. Like I said, it's just a beautiful program for us that need it. And I did prepare a big old speech, and I guess I'll stop now. But thank you for listening to us, and I hope that you keep this program and expand it, and you all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Director Hall, you're punched up. Is that, are you?
You never
no?
shut me off before.
Then Director Frost.
It's a dangerous move.
Indeed. I get the full weight of that.
I just wanted to thank Alfred and Gail and Peter for coming down. They live in my district, Al's city. But we don't often get people from the outlying areas down here to give testimony, and I know that's a big deal to come all the way downtown. So, and Peter was the very first rider on Smart Ride. He was the first rider to call and arrive at the ribbon cutting. So it's good to see you guys, and thanks for coming down.
It actually does mean a lot, you know, to hear a success story, and especially for working for access issues. That's a really good thing. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
And next, Joanne Fuller. Oh, I'll get to him.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm here with my colleagues from the 350 Sacramento Transportation Team, and we did prepare a talk, but we've heard some good news today from Director Holm, so I'll be adjusting the talk a little bit. When we were at the last STA meeting, we heard from speakers from the, we heard from the Avondale, Glen Elder, and Southeast Village Neighborhood Association. So I went to their meeting last night and heard from some folks who really need a neighborhood shuttle, and we're very excited about the potential for a shuttle for them. One lady told me she's so proud of her grandson going to Sac State, but what he has to do in order to get to Sac State from her area is incredible and takes a lot of walking. Another person said, you know, I'm getting older, and I'm also getting older, and I shouldn't be driving in the next couple of years, and I'm feeling that way too. And so that's another plea for access to public transportation through the Neighborhood Shuttle Program. Another woman said she wants to come down and talk to STA, but she can't get here. So just appreciate the success of this program by RT and the fully funding it. And we're speaking for getting some good coverage soon to that neighborhood that needs it so much, and to all of our neighborhoods that need it a lot. I'm in Supervisor Peters' district. We have another person from Supervisor Frost's district here. And we also, in the older suburbs, are also looking for more neighborhood shuttles because, like your experience, we're eager to get that accessibility too. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. Director Carr, I didn't get to you for your comment last.
Yes, a couple of questions. One, I see the map has been changed to include Meadowview, I think.
Mr. Chair, if it would help, I do have Laura Ham here, and she's prepared to make a presentation to talk about each of the shuttle areas, including some of the changes that were made, so that might address your question.
Okay. I'll wait for them. And the second question is there an outreach component to this effort to let people know where the shuttles will be and how the whole process works?
Again, I'll let Laura Ham address that as well. Okay.
So, Ms. Ham.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and directors. Thank you for having me. Got my presentation up there. Get started. There we go. Okay, so thank you for inviting SAC-RT back to share more information about Smart Ride on-demand microtransit service. I'll provide you with another quick overview of the service as we shared more about last month. The service leverages app-based technology created by Transloc, a leader in agency-owned flexible microtransit. A ride can be scheduled and tracked through the app, but can also be scheduled by telephone or online. Rides can also be tracked live in the app. The service is provided using neighborhood-friendly small buses that are accessible to persons with disabilities. Riders can feel safe knowing their driver has undergone extensive training and background screening. So as we've talked about quite a bit already today, on February 12th, SAC-RT and the City of Citrus Heights launched Smart Ride, replacing the previous Citrus Heights City Ride service, which was a popular public dial ride in the community. The first phase of Smart Ride operated Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and on April 23rd, our initial service area and hours grew to include Orangevale and Antelope, and to provide connections to the historic Folsom Light Rail Station. The service now operates Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Service benefits include connectivity to the rest of the SAC-RT system on one low fare, where passengers can transfer from Smart Ride to other buses or light rail without paying another fare. We're watching the service closely to ensure that we meet our goals of less than 30-minute wait times for vehicles and ride times of 30 minutes or less. Again, Smart Ride is accessible to passengers using mobility aids or with special needs, as well as individuals who may be unbanked or not have access to a smartphone. We've got an infographic here that just provides more information on the simplicity of downloading the app and scheduling a ride. So at your April meeting, we shared a lot of information about the Citrus Heights pilot, and we went over all of our proposed routes in detail. I'll go over them all briefly again with you today, and I will share several updated route concepts, so we'll get to that updated map in the south area as well. We presented an operating cost estimate to provide the service at your last meeting and a target to fund the service over roughly a 2.5-year period. We shared that SAC-RT intends to contribute $5.6 million in capital funds, which is approximately 30% of the total cost of the service. 9 of the routes are neighborhood routes, operating 7 to 7 Monday through Friday, and were costed at a $400,000 annual operating cost, as well as a downtown route with later hours estimated at a $1 million annual operating cost. So here is the list of routes. As I mentioned, most of the suburban routes are proposed to be operated on weekdays from 7 to 7, with the exception of that downtown route, which is number 4. Our Citrus Heights, Orangevale, Antelope, and Historic Folsom Station pilot has already been implemented with over 4,000 trips completed to date. Under our current pilot agreement, we will be able to implement 2 additional pilots with Transloc, and we're looking at a July and September timeframe to launch our 3rd and 4th route. We'll also procure a permanent microtransit app over the summer. As we said in April, all of these routes are subject to discussion with either the city's identified representatives of each community or other stakeholders. We are reaching out for additional input now, and several discussions are still in process. Making modifications to a geofenced area for a microtransit route is not as complex as it would be as making changes to a fixed route. We're not installing fixed amenities like bus shelters and stops. We can be flexible with this technology and make modifications as we go. We're open to suggestions about priority, locations where service would be best utilized, and areas that may be in critical need of service. Our focus in the development of these concepts has been primarily on underserved or unserved areas for public transit. So just to give you a little bit of a recap or response to feedback from the April 12th meeting, we've modified several of the routes, including the downtown, the Franklin South Sac, the Farm to Future South Sac, and the Rancho Cordova route. We have been working to develop demographic profiles for all of the routes as was requested, and our preliminary research is included later in the presentation. The demographic profiles will be adjusted if the routes are modified further. STA staff has proposed a $12 million funding award that would be phased over 30 months in order to fund all of the services initially proposed. We can definitely make that work with phasing in the services as suggested. We will continue to pursue zero-emission vehicle options in order to implement the service. And as was suggested at the last meeting, we're seeking opportunities to address any funding gaps by partnering with the different communities. Our current route optimization study, called SAC-RT Forward, will also allow us to identify areas where future microtransit service will be most appropriate. If this funding is approved, we would like to establish a process to keep STA updated as we finalize routes with each community and into the future if we need to make modifications. So getting into the details here on some of the concepts that were changed. Our downtown, midtown, Broadway, Old Sacramento route is a more experimental microtransit model with the goal of providing midday and late evening transit options to circulate in the downtown area. This service would provide connections to Mercy General and UC Davis and generally serves downtown Sacramento, Old Sacramento, Midtown, McKinley Park, and Broadway areas. The blue drop pins that you see on the map indicate destination points. They're not stops. Some people have been a little thrown off by that when they look at this map. This service runs later than any of the others, as I mentioned. We're proposing to run service until midnight and 2 a.m. on Saturdays, but the service area is not quite as large as some of the others.
Before you go on, Director Peters.
Yeah, thank you. Could I have a question about the downtown midtown slide? So
Sure.
This area already has RT bus service and proposed, what are you calling it, trolley? How does...
Streetcar.
Streetcar, okay.
That'll take years.
But there are areas that have no bus service, really. So how... It seems overserved to me. So that's my question, is how the equity was in that.
So as I mentioned, this service is a bit more experimental. In most cases, we're looking at areas with less density. The downtown route, we're hoping to entice riders that maybe would be interested in using this type of service for short trips, maybe lunch hour type transportation in the downtown. We don't have a lot of late evening service in the downtown area. Actually, most of our service ends by about 10 p.m. So we may be able to capture that market for short trips. We did meet with several of the downtown business owners recently, and the question regarding the future streetcar did come up. We potentially could exclude that area where the streetcar and the light rail are also running, as I mentioned.
Uber and Lyft are very ubiquitous in that area too. So
True.
I'm just wondering whether you're...
So and another thing to mention too in the downtown area is we do have a lot of ridership with passengers with disabilities using our fixed route service, and the medical centers are big trip generators for us. So there may be kind of a niche market for the rider that needs that accessibility and can't use Uber or Lyft. So that is our thought. This one again is more of an experimental pilot, and we'll just have to see what ridership looks like once it's implemented.
Thank you.
So moving on to Franklin and South Sacramento West. Franklin is an underserved area that we would like to prioritize for implementation. As was suggested by Director Carr at your last meeting, we have modified this route to include more of the Meadowview area. The route would also provide connections to Kaiser South and Methodist Hospital medical centers. This would be a 7 to 7 route Monday through Friday. And Rancho Cordova, the new route concept for Rancho Cordova was provided by city staff. The area in gray is currently served by their peak service Cordovan route, so Smart Ride is proposed for off-peak service only in that smaller zone. And the South Sacramento Farm to Future route was modified to include several neighborhoods in the southwest portion of this zone that are currently underserved, and that was mentioned in public comment as well, and to remove some of the more industrial areas on the northeastern side. The proposed service area will include a large swath of the eastern portion of South Sacramento and will include the Farm to Future affordable housing development in the southern portion of the identified service area. So we provided some preliminary demographic information for the route concepts that we've completed. This table includes population, low-income population, and population density. We have received some feedback from the county pertaining to environmental justice considerations and prioritization. So we do intend to coordinate further with county staff on all of the routes and take that into consideration as well. We don't have demographic profiles yet for the undetermined routes, but we will be required to do a full Title VI analysis of this service within 1 year of implementation in order to comply with SAC-RT's service standards. So I'll just go back to slide 6 for a moment and go over a few of the details on the maps that I didn't include. The Arden Arcade route, which is number 6, includes major destinations such as Arden Fair Mall, Kaiser Permanente Medical Center on Morse Avenue, Point West, and Cal Expo. The proposed route would provide improved service to several major destinations that have limited service at this time. The changing demographic profile of the area indicates the residents would benefit from and use additional transit service. The Carmichael route, which is number 8 on this list, will provide improved service to American River College and medical centers in the area with connections to light rail at Watt I-80. Our proposed Sac State route will include various destination points such as student housing on and off campus and the 65th Street Light Rail Station, as well as portions of River Park. We will continue to partner with Sac State and other stakeholders on the design of this service, and it may end up overlapping or merging with the Midtown downtown route. For the Elk Grove route, number 10, Elk Grove staff has indicated a strong interest in the service, but they would like to ensure no competition with the existing E-Tran fixed route service that primarily operates Monday through Friday, so there may be some interest in weekend Smart Ride services from Elk Grove. And in Folsom has also expressed strong interest at the staff level in implementing Smart Ride service, and will again need to balance it against their existing bus service. So that is all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay, before I open it up to directors, and I know there are going to be a lot of comments, I'd like to make one, and that is that this is really a proof of concept program, and as well as the equity aspect, we also have to demonstrate economic viability. So, and I really appreciated that you said that the geofence is adjustable, because that's what this is a test program. We've been looking at the Citrus Heights program. The ridership is good and growing, so all the indicators are that this can be very successful. There is still a lot of unknowns. I think there's a lot that we have to learn from it, but the adaptability part, I think, is really crucial. So I assume that RT will be keeping track of ridership very carefully and looking on what kind of basis, if you want to adjust a geofence, will you be looking at it monthly, half year or annually? How are you thinking about it?
Right now, we're watching it pretty closely every day with the service that we've implemented. And the great thing about this technology is it pulls really good data about origins and destinations and ridership levels and so forth. So we can work with STA staff and report back to you as frequently as you would like.
And one more question. This really ties into the route optimization study from my point of view. And there are possible gains to be had, like for instance, by putting in the Sac State River Park piece and tying that with Midtown. We may not find that we need Route 34 anymore, so there are economies to be gained when we look at this moving down the road. But like I said, it's still proof of concept. And of course, it needs to be economically viable. We're not looking for a program that needs an awful lot of subsidy year over year. With that, I'll open it up to questions, and Director Natoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for Laura. So as you roll this out, have you done some targets for fare box return and calculations around that? Obviously, you're in a pilot period in most cases, but what is the expectation, I guess?
Not yet. Specific to fare box recovery, we actually are going to, as I mentioned, we need to do a Title VI analysis on this program within a year of implementation, and we will need to update our service standards, which we'll be doing as part of our route optimization study to actually include this microtransit service in our service standards.
Because if I recall correctly, wasn't there some guidance in the Measure A regarding fare box return for regional transit? Going back to the measure back in 2004, there was discussions, I know, with business community and with regional transit. You may recall, Laura, I know you've been with the agency you and Mark both, for a number of years. Again, it wasn't strict requirements, but there was about, certainly on the routes where you run fixed route service. Again, I just think as we look at that calculation to keep faith, obviously, with that, if there's any necessity to kind of do that touchback, but also as we're going forward, I think to comment the chairman made just a moment ago, again, recognizing that there are going to be some adjustments made, and that you're not going to have fares pay the entirety of the cost. I don't think that's reasonable. But I guess I'm curious as to sort of what those touchbacks are. So I think it would be worthwhile for us, just in light of obviously what may be contemplated in the future, certainly providing the service, but also then how that calculation is made relative to what the costs are versus fixed rail, fixed route bus service. So.
Yeah, I think those are really great questions, and as we move forward, we will develop with our service standards probably a slightly different set of profiles around this service related to productivity.
But some measures that, again, you look, again, they may be different as marked against this versus other parts of the service provided in public transit, but I just think it might be an important piece as a community conversation goes forward relative not only to the access piece of it and what you're broadening relative to ability for folks to get in and about and around our community and go to those things that they need to go to, but also then what sort of return is coming back, and particularly with this, the money is going to be put forward here to help with these pilots. Thanks.
Director Frost.
I have two questions. I'm not sure I understand this map. Are we saying that we are going to include the environmental justice areas in what we're approving today?
What the county recommendation is that we consider the environmental justice communities
as a priority.
As a priority, but as it turns out, my recommendation is that we fund all of the projects, and so they're all an equal priority. I mean, they're all being prioritized.
So we are including the green areas, the EJ areas.
Well, the smart ride.
Just the yellow.
EJ. But the smart ride service areas are the areas that I show in yellow. And so it will encompass parts of those EJ areas, but not all of them.
So that's interesting. That tells me that there is areas that get left behind or that are underserved then. Was there a reason? Do we just not have that much demand for ridership in those areas? Why they were not prioritized?
Well, just to be clear, the county just adopted this element on Tuesday.
No, I'm not meaning it critically.
Okay.
I think what I'm saying is I'm surprised because all the areas that are EJ, there's not a whole lot of smart ride in those areas. And so is that because there's not that many people demanding or not that much utilization of public transit in those areas?
I think I can respond to your question partially. We would like to meet with the county staff that sent this letter and more fully understand their criteria for determining that they are public transit underserved areas compared to how we make those assessments through our Title VI program update that we do every 3 years. So we will have that dialogue and have a better understanding. And based on my conversation with Norm, I understand that what they're asking at this point in time is that routes that do touch those EJ areas should be implemented first before other routes is the request. So we can certainly have that conversation as well. Some of the areas, particularly the Arden area and the area identified in South Sacramento, has quite a bit of fixed route service. So we need to get a better understanding of what those concerns are. The Vineyard area identified is pretty rural and probably does not have the density to support transit at this time, but again, it's something we can look at.
It could be the same behind Roseville Road on North Highlands.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And the other question I have was, last night I was in one of my community meetings and I was sharing about Smart Ride, and one of the residents asked, well, this isn't what it costs. They're gonna surely raise the price on us. And I wasn't sure how to respond. Is this an introductory rate that could be subject to increase in the next year or so, or?
We have no intentions of increasing the fare through the course of the pilot. As you know, all of public transit is pretty heavily subsidized by public funding. Our fare box recovery our fare box recovery only covers about a quarter of our costs at this time for all of our services. And similar to Uber and Lyft, those services are also heavily subsidized. The passenger fare doesn't cover the entire cost of the service.
So we won't really know until we know what kind of usage and where the hot spots are and how this begins to unfold as to what we might have to adjust to. It could go up.
We don't intend to increase the fare during this pilot period as far if the funding is awarded.
Is that 6 months?
It's 3 years.
3 year pilot
okay.
period. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Peters.
Thank you. Looking at this map that was handed out for Justice, but ignoring those outlines and using it just as a map where the smart transit, smart ride is supposed to go. So if you are in Carmichael, say, now you mentioned a couple of places that this bus shuttle will go, but what if you wanted to go to Arden Fair Mall? If you live in Carmichael, then do you call the Arden Arcade Smart Ride, or would Carmichael?
That's a great question, where the routes are touching each other, yes. And so particularly with the Carmichael and Arden Arcade, just at the staff level, we've had some discussions about potentially merging those two service areas together, just like we have with Antelope, Citrus Heights, Orangevale, connecting over to Folsom. That's all one big geo-fenced area, and we have the ability to do that if we see that there's demand for riders to go from one area to the other. But that one in particular, I think, makes some sense to actually blend them as one service area.
And then I was trying to match up some of the language, and on this map it says Arden Arcade. On this slide it says Arden, and I don't know whether that's just a typo that you left out arcade, and
yes,
and the population
it's the whole.
As a result of that, the population is incorrect on Arden. It's 90,000 people, not 45.
Okay, I'll go back and take a look at that, but it should be the entire geo-fenced area that population number came from.
Okay. So even though the slide says Arden, it's Arden Arcade, and the population is off by 50%. So
okay.
Will that affect the budget for that area?
It will not, no. We just went back and pulled some demographic information quickly based on the geo-fenced areas that we had identified. Our budget is actually tied to the number of operators that we'll be using for each service.
Okay,
and the service hours.
So, I had a question. You know, part of what you're trying to do is to ascertain where riders need to go, right? And that's a big piece of this pilot program, and I think you'll quickly learn what the propensity of rides to various destinations are, and clearly you've given thought to that beforehand. Destinations like Arden Mall and healthcare facilities are probably typical rides that you'd get a lot of. And so I assume you'll be collecting an awful lot of data on the actual destinations that are most popular.
Yes, we love that data. Yeah.
Director Cerna.
Thank you. So obviously, Lori, you're getting hit with a number of questions relative to the specific geography of the Smart Ride, and I'm not going to be any different. I want you to help me understand why there's some exclusions, some fairly glaring exclusions here, in my opinion. The first being, and there may be good reason for it, I just need to understand it, but the first being the fact that there's no Smart Ride that's going to be offered in Del Paso or Hagenwood or North Sacramento. And then the other concern or question I have is, why is there no yellow shading indicating the approximate Smart Ride service area in the area between 99 and Stockton Boulevard? I mean, maybe, for instance, the reason is the 51 service, the 68 service, but then if part of the rationale is that we have our highest frequency, highest ridership route going through that area, that route also serves the downtown area. So then I'm trying to reconcile them. Why is downtown then a Smart Ride area, not these South Sacramento neighborhoods. So can you respond to those two general concerns I have?
Yes. So I guess a couple of things I would say in response to that. So the South Sac route in particular, as we looked at it and we went back and refined it and wanted to add the Meadowview area to it, it's a little bit of a struggle because the service area is getting so big as far as square miles and being able to provide, and that was the rationale that we had really high frequency fixed route service over in that area along Highway 99. Point taken that there's a lot of fixed route service in downtown. And what we would like to see in operating that route, and that was one of the earlier ones that we recommended, was what impact it does have on the fixed route service if it begins to pull riders away. We may want to establish as we develop service standards for this, that we don't provide this type of service in areas where we already have high frequency fixed route bus service. That may not make sense as we get more data and learn how this works. We, again, are open to making adjustments. I think the point is well taken regarding North Sacramento and Del Paso. There is some fixed route service in that area, but I would agree that it's probably an area that would be a good candidate for this type of service. At some point, we're going to run out of resources as far as where we can adjust these. So I would ask for your input as far as priorities for moving these around if so desired.
No, I appreciate that. That North Sac, Hagenwood, Del Paso concern I have is very acute because I understand you're looking through different layers here. You're looking through the existing fixed route service. You're probably looking through the lens of what we know so far in terms of route optimization and what may change. But many of us, maybe all of us, are also looking through the additional lens, especially those of us that represent the county, of these EJ areas. Mm-hmm. And so how am I supposed to, since I represent both areas, how do I respond to someone in Del Paso who, according to this map, would not have access to Smart Ride when they know that someone in East Sacramento does? I don't know what the answer to that is. So I just ask you to maybe expand your thinking a little bit in terms of the various priorities that we have to explore in terms of when making the Smart Ride area permanent, or at least more permanent than it is today, is that there is a very, very serious environmental justice influence, I think, that ought to affect how the map solidifies.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that feedback, and we'll take a look at that.
Director Guerra.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First, I do want to thank the staff for going back and looking at some of the boundaries, particularly in the South Sacramento and Farm to Future area that Supervisor Natoli and I represent, and Supervisor Kennedy and I represent. And Supervisor Kennedy and I last night were at the Avondale, Glen Elder, and Southeast Village neighborhood meeting, and in that area for a long time has seen a reduction in service, and particularly for the communities also along the Colonial Manor and Colonial Village, where a railroad and industrial park separate them from actually getting to, even though they're probably 500 feet from the bus route, but they physically can't get to those other lines without having to go another mile or two around. So I think, what we've done here is a good opportunity to help communities who haven't had this opportunity to reach any kind of transit. And some of those communities that a lot of the original homeowners are still there, who are looking at in wheelchairs. They're having the challenges of walking further. So I do want to thank and commend the staff on both STA and RT for taking that into consideration in that area. On this map here, I do also want to recognize that most of it is recognizing just the county EJ pieces, but a big chunk of the area that's not recognized, anything south of Fruit Ridge or 14th Avenue that's in the yellow area, are, if you look at other, like the Cal Enviro screen, or even the endowment maps, or even our promise zones with the city, they are included in here. So I do want to thank the staff for recognizing that. So I don't think this map, while it has the county boundaries, doesn't truly recognize the current adjacent areas that are in need. I mean, I know Meadowview is considered an area of need, but only looking at it through this lens, that doesn't give us the full picture. I will join in on Supervisor Cerna's comments about, when we're looking at areas of need, I know in my community, some in my district, areas like Sierra Oaks, they are probably in less need of public transit, as much as some of them would prefer not to have to drive through the traffic and get through the Fair Oaks and Howe intersection. But areas right adjacent over the freeway are in bigger need. So we want to be fair, and I think that lens, of how we do that is important. But I do have to say, at least for the first stab, and like the chairman said here, it's a test pilot. The boundaries are not set in stone, and they're and as we move forward and look at demand, I think will change. So with that, I just want to thank you for acknowledging those areas since we last met.
In addition to the 10 RT microtransit projects, there's also one other project that's being recommended for funding, and that is SACOG's Civic Lab project called Youth to Jobs, the movement of youth to jobs. And the staff recommendation is full funding for that program of $400,000 over the next 3 years. So altogether, that's 11 projects for a total of $12.4 million.
Thank you. Director Howell.
I'm just really happy to hear that it's only been a month, I believe, that the route that goes to the Historic District Station in Folsom, to see that number of rides, that's very, very good.
All good?
That was it.
Director Carr.
Thank you. I want to make sure I understand how this exactly works. The first step is to download an app. But you have a provision, if you don't know how to operate a smartphone or you don't have one, you can call in. And if you call in, when you get to the point where you board, how do you pay?
So all of RT's fare media is accepted, so you can pay cash. If you have a Connect card or RT,
you'll be able to pay on the bus as you get on.
Pay on the bus when you board. Yes. When we procure a permanent app for this, like I said, we're doing a pilot right now with a company called Transloc. We would like to have fare integration so that people who schedule on the app can pay on the app. So that's a desire of ours when we go through our.
But there's so many people who don't have cellular phones and don't know how to operate them. Not even to take a picture or anything like that, just a very rudimentary knowledge of it. So, but you have made provision for it, so that's a good thing.
So if you pay cash or you're a student and you have one of our monthly passes, you can use all of those things.
And you answered my question about expanding the map, and I appreciate that, to the Meadowview area. But the outreach program, how are we going to let the public know about this?
So what we've done so far as outreach is we did a mass mailing in the current service area, so Citrus Heights, Orangevale, Fair Oaks, Antelope, to all the residents regarding the service. We have the buses themselves have great branding on the side. We've reached out to community centers and libraries and that type of effort to let people know about the service so far, and we intend to do that as we expand with each community.
So do you plan any mass advertising? Radio, TV, anything like that?
We may, I don't know off the top of my head if we did a radio spot on this last one, but we do that occasionally, and we certainly could do some radio ads. We did movie theater ads in Citrus Heights too. That's the one thing I forgot. Yeah.
Well, there are several really difficult to reach communities that need this service, and some speak limited English. Many will ignore the letters that come in the mail. And I think it's important that we focus in outreach programs on those communities that are difficult to reach. and use what they use to get their information.
Thank you.
And
That's
otherwise,
great, yeah.
it's going to come in skewed next year, and we'll see very little ridership, but we know that there's a big need. So
We
I
can
think we
do
need
we
to
can
think
do
that through
outreach
very
in multiple
carefully.
languages too, and with community newspapers.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Carr. Director Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm going to do what we refer to as pile on. Regarding, and I'm not, when I talk about environmental justice, I'm not necessarily talking about the boundaries that the county adopted a few days ago, I'm talking about the concept of environmental justice. And so this gives me a bit of heartburn when I see East Sacramento has full coverage and South Sacramento has none. I'm going to have a problem with that. You know, downtown has 3 light rail lines, lots to fix routes. I just, as we talk about changing these routes and looking at different ideas, I'm going to push back pretty heavy on that.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other comments? Director Frost?
I just have a question. Is it possible to adjust the number of days per week service to expand the service to some other critical areas so that everyone can be a part of the pilot? Just have it be, instead of every day, you know, take out a couple days. Is there a way for us to?
We can certainly we have a lot of flexibility in how we implement it. I mentioned that Elk Grove was interested in maybe doing weekend-only service. We could consider, especially looking at the fixed route service that might be available, maybe running it in hours when fixed route is not operating, or as you suggested, maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday in certain communities. We could look at some of those options to make
at
adjustments.
least until we figure out funding for expansion. It's just a thought. Probably making people mad on the board here, though.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I do have a thought, and I do have a draft contract with RT that's in your board packet. Based on your board input, I think I would ask for your permission to modify the contract to make it a little bit more flexible in terms of the individual routes and introducing the possibility of expanding service and shutting or reducing service in certain areas and expanding it based on future considerations and board approval. So just to build a little bit more flexibility into the contract.
Okay. Question for you. Did you have another presentation on moving youth to jobs as well?
No, but Tiffany Fick is here if you would like to ask
so
any questions.
we've heard that previously from paratransit. So, well, I think you've heard the concerns from the board, and you know, we're always concerned about equity issues. But, you know, as I said before, flexibility is key, so what you just offered up in terms of, do you have any specifics about how you would alter the contract to encourage flexibility or write it in?
It's pretty flexible as it is already, but I think I would like to not limit it to the 10 projects that were specifically named and introduce some language, and I could work with council on how to do that.
Okay. So we're at the point where I can entertain a motion, and actually I'd like to move staff recommendation with the flexibility written into the contract that Norman authorize him to work with the attorney to create a little bit more flexibility.
And I'll second it.
Well, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Very good. Let's create a project. Next item, please.
Your next item is your draft fiscal year 2019 STA budget.
Mr. Chair, seeing how we have to be out of here by 3 o'clock, we do have to introduce the STA budget over 2 periods, so we need to open the public hearing and extend it. I'll ask our accounting and finance manager to keep his comments very brief, and if you have any questions, you can address them directly to Tim.
Okay.
Before you today are the financial tables for the fiscal year 2018-19 proposed budget. My staff report summarized the material budget changes by program and fund. The financial information in the tables is mostly settled, so I don't expect any material changes to the final budget I'll be presenting to you during the June meeting. In general, the authority is financially stable. and the revenue outlook is favorable. The increased revenue will provide additional funding for the Measure A ongoing and capital programs. The single largest change in the budget is increased capital program appropriations. Sacramento County, the cities of Sacramento and Rancho Cordova, Caltrans, and the Capital Southeast Connector collectively have 15 projects that will be receiving funding in the coming year. In total, spending for these projects is expected to be $47 million in fiscal year 18-19, which is $31 million more than is estimated in the current spending year. Each project has been programmed into a cash flow plan that will be included in the final budget. Since my staff report provides information about the significant changes, I'd like the opportunity to respond to any questions you have about those changes or any other information in the tables presented.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions or comments from directors? And we need not take any action on this item, correct?
Need to continue it to the next meeting.
To continue. Motion to continue?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, it is public hearing.
Was this a public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the
asking about
motion
public
needs to
comment?
open the public hearing, close the public hearing, and move to continue.
No public hearing open, right? Is that
So moved?
Keep
And
the
who
public
moved it?
hearing open, don't you? Are we keeping the public hearing open through the next, to the adoption, right?
Yeah.
Yes, all we need is a continuance.
Right.
Very good.
He opened the hearing. We have no public comment. So there's no need to reopen the public hearing next month.
The only point was nobody asked if there was public comment.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? That carries as well. Last item is comments by directors. Anybody have anything to say before we adjourn? I just have one comment to reply to what Director Chenier asked for. What I'd like to do and make my intention known is to speak with Mr. Chenier and Kennedy in the next month, and the intention would be to create an ad hoc in the June meeting to look at the RFP and create the RFP for public outreach for possible measure moving forward. That being said, we are adjourned at 2:54.